The 11th of March, 1900, Volume 3. Encounter with a Soul in Purgatory. It continues almost always in the same way. This morning I saw good Jesus, more afflicted than usual, threatening a great mortality of people, and I saw that in certain towns many were dying. Then I passed by Purgatory, and as I recognised a late friend of mine, I questioned her about various things regarding my state, especially whether my state is will of God, and whether it is true that it is Jesus who comes, or the devil. So I said to her, since you are present before the truth, and you know things with clarity, with no possibility of deceiving yourself, you can tell me the truth about my thing. And she said to me, do not fear. Your state is will of God, and Jesus loves you very much. This is why he is pleased to manifest himself to you. And I, proposing some of my doubts to her, prayed her to be so kind as to see before the light of truth whether they were true or false, and to do me the charity to come and let me know. And if she did that, as recompense, I would have a mass celebrated in her suffrage. And she added, if the Lord wants it, because we are so immersed in God that we cannot even flutter our eyelashes if we do not have his concord. We dwell in God, just like a person who dwelled in another body, who can think, speak, look, work, walk insofar as it is allowed to him by that body which surrounds him on the outside. In fact, for us, it is not like for you, who exercise your free volition, your own will. For us, every will has ceased. Our will is only the will of God. From it we live. In it we find all our contentment, and it forms all our good and our glory. And as she was showing an unspeakable contentment for this will of God, we separated. End of the reading. The 11th of March, 1928, Volume 23. Difference between Jesus and the Virgin. How the whole hidden life of Jesus in Nazareth was the recall of the kingdom of the divine will upon earth. How the human will is the fount of good or of evil. I was thinking about what was the difference that passed between the Holy Virgin and my lovable Jesus, since in both of them the divine volition had its life, its full dominion, its kingdom, and my sweet Jesus moving in my interior told me, my daughter, between myself and the celestial queen, one was the will that animated us, one the life. However, between her and me passed this difference. Between a house that is such that the sun enters into it from all sides in a way that the light invests it, dominates it, and there is not one part of this house in which the light does not act as queen, and therefore it is prey to the light, receives always light, and grows under the influence of the light. And another house that possesses the sphere of the sun within itself, therefore it does not receive the source of the light from outside, but possesses it inside. Is there not difference between one and the other? Now this is the difference that passes between me and my mother. She is the house invested by the light. She gave herself prey to it, and the sun of my will kept giving to her always, always. It nourished her with light, and she grew within the endless rays of the eternal sun of my fiat. On the other hand, my humanity possessed within itself the sphere of the divine sun, its source that always rises without ever decreasing, and the sovereign queen drew from me the light that gave her life and the glory of queen of light, because one who possesses a good can be called queen of that good. After this, I was following my divine fiat, doing my round in it, and as I arrived at the home of Nazareth, in which my lovable Jesus had conducted his hidden life, in order to follow his acts, I was saying to him, "My love, there is no act you do in which my I love you does not follow you, to ask you, by means of your acts, for the kingdom of your will. My I love you follows you everywhere, in the steps you take, in the words you speak, in the wood you hammer. And while you hammer the wood, may you hammer the human will, that it may be undone, and your divine will may rise again in the midst of creatures. My I love you flows in the water you drink, in the food you take, in the air you breathe, in the rivers of love that pass between you and your Mamma and Saint Joseph, in the prayers you do, in your ardent heartbeat, in the sleep you take. Oh, how I wish to be near you, to whisper to your ear, I love you, I love you. Oh, please let your kingdom come." Now, while I would have wanted my I love you to form a circle around all the acts of Jesus, he moved in my interior and told me, "My daughter, all of my hidden life, and such a long one, was nothing other than the recall of the kingdom of my divine will upon earth. I wanted to redo within myself all the acts the creatures were to do in it, to then hold them out to them. And I wanted to do this together with my mamma. I wanted her always together with me in my hidden life, in order to form this kingdom. Two people had destroyed this kingdom of my divine fiat, Adam and Eve, and two more, myself and the height of the sovereign queen, were to redo it. So first I took care of the kingdom of my divine will, because the human will had been the first to offend mine by withdrawing from it. All other offences came in the second degree as the consequence of the first act. It is the human will that is the life or the death of the creature, her happiness or her tyranny and misfortune into which she hurls herself, her good angel that leads her to heaven, or the one who, transforming into a demon, hurls her into hell. All evil is in the will, as well as all good, because the will is like the fount of life placed in the creature that can spring joys, happiness, sanctity, peace, virtue, or spurts from within itself little fountains of troubles, of miseries, of sins, of wars that destroy all goods. Therefore, first I took care of the kingdom of my will in this hidden life for as long as 30 years. Then, with my short public life, just 3 years, I took care of redemption. And while in forming the kingdom of my divine fiat, I had the celestial mamma always near me. In my public life, I did without her presence, at least corporally, because for the kingdom of my fiat, I constituted myself king and the Virgin queen, in order to be, I first and then she, the foundation of the kingdom that had been destroyed by the human will. See then how the kingdom of my divine will, by necessity, by reason, and as a result, was formed with my coming upon earth in the first order. Nor could I have formed the redemption had I not satisfied my celestial Father for the first offensive act that the creature had done against him. Therefore the kingdom of my will is formed. There is nothing left but to make it known. And this is why I do nothing but follow with you and hold out to you my acts that I did in order to form it, accompanying your acts so that the foundation of mine may flow in them. I am on guard so that your will may have no life, so that mine may be free. In sum, I am acting as with a second mother of mine, recalling all the acts done together with the Virgin, in order to deposit them in you. Therefore be attentive to follow my will in everything. May everything be for the glory of God and for the fulfillment of His most holy will. End of the reading. 11th of March, 1934, Volume 33. How one who does not live in the divine will places it in solitude and reduces it to silence. One who is the temple of God, the divine will, temple of the soul. The little host, sign in order to know if one lives in the divine will. It seems to me I hear the continuous echo of the divine fiat that thunders in my soul, that with its invincible power calls my little acts into its acts, to make of them one alone. And it seems it delights itself with its creature. It does not feel alone. It has someone to tell its joys and its sorrows. In sum, it does not feel itself either in solitude nor reduced to silence. On the other hand, for one who does not live in the divine volition, it feels the weight of solitude, and if it wants to speak and entrust its secrets, it is not understood, because she lacks the light of its will that makes her understand its celestial language, and oh, how sorrowful it remains by it, because while it is all voice and all word, yet it does not have someone to say one of them too. O adorable will, make me always live in you, so that it would break your solitude and give you the field to let you speak. For while my mind was lost in the vast horizons of the divine fiat, my sweet Jesus, repeating his little visit, all goodness told me. My little daughter of my volition, it is really true that one who does not live in our will places it in solitude and reduces it to silence. You must know that every creature is a new and distinct labour that we had of doing, and therefore new things of saying. If he does not live in our volition, we feel that the creature is far from us, because his will is not in ours. Therefore, set aside by him, we feel ourselves alone, impeded in our labour. And if we would want to speak, it is as if we would want to speak to the deaf, to the mute. Therefore, one who does not live in our volition is our cross. He impedes our steps. He binds our arms. He knocks down our most beautiful works. And I, who am the Word, am reduced to silence. Now you must know that the soul in grace is the temple of God. However, when the soul lives in our will, God makes himself the temple of the soul. And oh, the great difference between the creature, temple of God, and God, temple of the soul. The first is a temple exposed to dangers, to enemies, subject to passions. Many times our Supreme Being finds itself in these temples, as in temples of stone, not cared about, not loved as is befitting it, and the little lamp of his continuous love that he must have as homage for his God, who resides in him, without pure oil, is extinguished. And if he were ever to fall into grave sin, our temple collapses and becomes occupied by thieves, our and his enemies, who profane and ruin it. The second temple, that is God, temple of the soul, is not exposed to dangers. The enemies cannot get near. The passions lose life. The soul in this divine temple of ours is like the little host that has her Jesus consecrated in it, such that, with the perennial love that she draws, receives, and is fed, she forms the little living lamp that always burns without ever going out. This temple of ours occupies its royal place. Its volition is complete, and she is our glory and our triumph. And what does the little host do in this temple of ours? She prays, she loves, she lives of divine will. She substitutes for my humanity on earth. She takes my place of suffering. She calls the whole army of our works to make a cortege for us. She holds creation and redemption as hers and acts as commander over them. And now she places them as army around us in the act of prayer, of adoration. Now as army in the act of loving us and glorifying us. But she is always at the head to make our works do what she wants. And she always ends with her little refrain so pleasing to us. Your volition be known, loved, and reign and dominate in the whole world. In fact, all the anxieties, the sighs, the interests, the solicitudes, the prayers of this little host who lives in our divine temple are that our fiat embrace everyone, set aside all the evils of the creature, and with its omnipotent breath make itself a place in the hearts of everyone, in order to make itself life of every creature. Can one ever give an office more beautiful, more holy, more important, more useful to heaven and to earth than this little host who lives in our temple? In addition to this, our love, our power, make all the displays, all the industries, all the stratagems with one who lives in our will. It makes itself little and encloses itself in the soul in order to form her life, and of this only the skin is left in order to remain covered. It makes itself immense as it is, and it forms a sumptuous temple so as to keep her secure within, and to enjoy her company. For one who does our will, she is always occupied with us, and we are always occupied with her. Therefore watch well to make yourself bound always in our will. After this, I continued to think about the divine volition, and my beloved Jesus added, the sign, if the soul lives in my will, is if all things internal and external are bearers of my will, because to say that I possess its life and not feel it is impossible. Therefore she will feel it in the heartbeat, in the breath, in the blood that circulates in her veins, in the thought that forms in her mind, in the voice that gives life to her word, and so forth. So the internal act, echoing the external, makes my will found in the air she breathes, in the water that she drinks, in the food that she takes, in the sun that gives her light and heat. In sum, the internal and external give each other a hand and form so many acts in order to form the life of my will in them. One act alone does not form life, but continuous and repeated acts form life. Then in my will everything is present, as in the act of doing everything that was done by us, and the creature in it enters into the power of our present acts, and she does what we do. She remains invested by our creative strength, by our love that always rises. She understands that it is really for her that he does everything, and oh, how she loves and wants to do everything for her Creator. On the other hand, outside of our fiat, what we have done are seen as past things, done for everything, but not for her alone. So love does not wake in her. It sleeps. It remains as in lethargy, and they think of it as a love far away, not in act. Therefore there is such difference between one who lives in my will and one who lives outside of it, that there is no comparison that holds up. Therefore be attentive and thank me for the great good that I have made you, of letting you know what it means to live in my volition. End of the reading. There are no more readings today.